Hi, welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to show you how to paint a seascape in watercolour. This is a photograph from Leon Sea, which is an area quite close to my home. I'll draw it first and then I'll put the washes on. Starting with the boats, I'll do a very rough drawing to give me an idea of where things go, and I'll start to move things around a little bit to suit my composition. Going to add a few little bits, which you'll see as I go, and I'll explain it. Now, the pencil that I like to use is a 4B, which is quite a gives you quite a strong line, but it's very easy if you want to rub it off at the end of your paintings. I'm just putting the second boat in here, which is going to be the focal point of the painting. The area is very much a fishing village. Lots of these little fishing boats about. It's very attractive, and you quite often see artists down here painting the boats and the area. Now I'm putting 3 boats in here, and they're all different sizes. When I'm featuring boats or any features, I always try to do a large one, a medium-sized one, and a small one, for variety, and I find that it works better. This is all very quick and quite rough. I don't even bother correcting some of the lines of perspective. I just leave it and correct it when I paint it. Just doing the last fishing boat and putting in the horizon line. This is where the water's going to go. I've changed that from the photograph. And I put some water in the bottom left as well, a post, which I think would be good for keeping the eye in the picture. Just doing some lines on the white boat there, which will help me when I come to paint it. A few bits and pieces on the top right. Won't worry too much about these. And we're not too far off of finish the drawing now, I think. Just a few little corrections. So I'm going to keep the boat white, the front boat, the rowing boat white, so I want to keep that, what's the pencil marks on that. I'm keeping I'm popping in some masts at the back here, because when I do the line of trees and bits and pieces in the background, I want to actually split it and avoid the masts. Right, just checking a few bits and pieces here before we start painting. Yeah, reasonably happy with that. Yeah, I think we'll start painting. Mixing up some puddles of paint. I'm going to start at with the sky first. This is cobalt blue. Lots of water. I want the sky to be fairly light. And just a touch of cerulean blue in there. And this is Payne's grey. Lots of water in here. This is going to be the cloud shadow colour. I'm using 2 medium-sized mops so I can get the paint on fairly quick. Putting some water, just pure water, on the edges of the grey so we don't get any hard edges, and then in with the blue mix. Make that a little bit stronger. Keep it all nice and random. Just try and go over it once. Notice I don't wet the paper beforehand. I just try and put it on fast enough that it doesn't dry in. This is very much a case of practice to get it to look random. And I'm going to be using the same mix in the water by the boats. This is going to be the reflections of the sky. This is where it pays to try and plan a little bit before you start painting about where you might go, because it will save me trying to mix up the same colour later on in the painting. Going to now put in some of the wash at the behind the boat. Which is some cobalt and sap green. A little bit of raw sienna. Now, really just the aim is just to try and vary it. So you notice I'm dipping into various earthy colours here. I do like to use some of the ready-made greens. I have hooker's green, which I like to use sparingly. Mixing that with blues is quite nice. Just working my way around all the boats and bits and pieces at the back, bringing it forward, keeping it varied. This will all dry quite a bit lighter. Also using burnt sienna and raw umber, making it warmer at the as we come to the front of the painting. Just finishing off this first wash. Using light red here. As you can see, it's really, really warm. Bringing it forward. Keeping this puddle of water at the front there, front left. Try not to fiddle about too much. Put everything on in one hit. Yep, that's not too bad. Now starting on the boats. This is the focal point. This large fishing boat in the center and to the left. Putting the hull in ultramarine. And then putting the smaller fishing vessel in burnt sienna. Do this quite quickly. Taking off the back, what would be the back of the hull with a bit of tissue where the sun would be hitting it. Back to doing the bits and pieces on the main fishing vessel. Putting in the cabin with a little bit of alizarin crimson and cobalt, very watery. Just painting in what would be shadows on the white. And the same mix on this white rowboat that's at the front of the painting. I think this kind of subject was probably one of my favourites, boats and water. Getting a nice thick mix here, plenty of paint. I'm going over the sky again. Unfortunately, I wasn't very happy with the with that first wash. It's too light, so I'm going over it again with the same colours as before, but making it a bit darker. It looked a bit too wishy-washy. Putting some water on just to bring it down a bit to the horizon. It's always nice if you can do these skies in one, but as you can see, even for me, it doesn't always work out quite like that. If it looks right when you first put it on, it isn't right. If you know what I mean, it needs to be darker. That's one of the things you have to try and get right with watercolour, is the consistency of the paint. I'm just popping these bits in, the reflections, and sometimes you can go the other way. I mean, you can put it on and it's actually too dark. You've gone too dark with it. It's really just practicing. It's really just practicing to get it right. Going again with the blues. This is ultramarine again. Lovely deep blue. Leaving the back part to show the some light shining on it. Now I'm doing the shadows. Payne's grey, French ultramarine, nice and dark, showing it's a really sunny day. Pop the shadow in for the rowboat. I'm actually going to leave just a small piece in the middle of this shadow where the line of the rope that's holding it is going to be, which I think might look quite attractive. See what it looks like. Excuse me. This is a good shadow colour. It's alizarin crimson and cobalt blue. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to use this in the distance. This should actually look quite well as a distant colour too. Trees and bits and pieces, and I'm leaving gaps where the masts are. Very quickly with that, don't look too bad. There's some shadow on the on this boat at the front. Popping in some more darks here, burnt sienna. Hooker's green, burnt sienna. I think when you're doing these areas where it's just random colours, which it'd be in nature, it's just a case of knowing roughly what colours you want to use and just going for it to a certain extent. If you try and be too uniform, it will show, and you want your painting to look like it was all done by the same painter, not two different painters, one who paints things with very much detail and one who's loose. So I just kind of go with these areas. So this is just a variety of of colours, and if you see me dipping in here and there on the palette, you'll see that there's no real rhyme or reason why I go with certain colours. Now I'm putting in some of the boats. I've gone with light red. I'm not going to make too much of these. They're just distant parts of the painting, and then there's another boat there. It's a pleasure crafts, and now doing some more detail work on the fishing boat, popping a couple of windows. And this fishing boat to the left. Popping the detail in quite quickly. I think this is all part what they're trying to paint loose, is to be relatively fast, but when you're painting objects, trying to paint them accurately, especially buildings. Doing what would be some tarpaulins and bits and pieces on the back of this main fishing vessel. And now the forward shoreline. Some shadow colour, some of the browns. I think at this point it does start to look a little bit like paint by numbers, but once you move on to the next stage is when it looks much better. Putting in these shadows in the water now, the boats. Nice dark colours. Should look quite effective. Back to the main fishing vessel again. I'm just looking at areas that are drying that I can go back on again. And it's very much an individual thing where when you get to this stage of the painting of where you actually want to go, it doesn't matter too much really. I just like to, as I say, keep my eye on what's drying and what's dry. Look at the shine on the paper, and I can see it's dry, and it's easier as the paint gets thicker towards the end of the painting, because it's less liable to run into the other colours. I mean, sometimes I do want it to run into the other colours and not have a definite line, which is quite attractive. doing some ropes and windows and odds and ends. I'm using a smaller round brush now. This one's got quite a nice point to it. It's good for doing more detailed work. Doing the rowing boat. Pop it in these. What would be the timbers. Very broken line, not making too much of it. Trying to keep it so it's not a photograph, it's a painting. Just popping in the shadows. Going to trim the next bit with the, well, I'm going to be drying it off with the hair dryer. Putting some darks here and there. Just popping in some darks here and there. I've done the masts with the rigger. Just doing the few bits and pieces at the end of the painting. Now I'm going to try putting some spatter on it, which is putting some really wet paint on the brush, and I'll just tap it on another brush or a spatula. Cover up the top of the painting because sometimes it goes everywhere. You don't want it all over the sky and the boats. Just using a dark colour. Just looks quite nice in the foreground, pebbles and rocks and bits and pieces. Try not to do too much of it. Just for this shoreline, pop a few darks in. These all dry out lighter. This is where the temptation is to fiddle about, which can spoil a painting. Just making some bits I think need to be darker, a bit darker. Now we're going to use the putty rubber to lose those pencil marks, which is on the boats, on the white. Sometimes I don't mind leaving the pencil marks in, but in this case I'll take them off. And take the tape off carefully. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe. I'll be doing some more and you can paint along with me. I'll give a small critique at the end of my painting after I've left it for a couple of days, and to see what I think needs adjusting. Here's the painting a few days after I'd completed it. Now I thought the side of the blue on the side of the boat was too intense, so I've put water on that and a tissue and taken it off a bit, as was the shadows on the white rowboat as well. Straightened some lines up on the the brown fishing boat, which was a little bit skew with. I probably would have done something different with the water line underneath the blue boat there. But never mind, it's not too bad. And also the reflection of the sky I lightened as well. But other than that, it's not too bad. Thank you for watching.